This video, I'm going to share a story. Why did I not die or get violently sick at that church event? There was roughly about 500 people in that room that night, most of them severely hospitalized, dying. Why did it happen? Why did the Divine Mother send me there? How is it connected to this Stranger Things Netflix series? What are these themes we watch in these movie scripts that could be related to our lives? I'm a mystic, I'm a healer, author, speaker, and singer and dancer, and the list goes on. And so for me, I'm tackling something that I have never shared public. So yeah, grab your magic water. Grab that notebook if anything stirs the pot of creativity or investigation, because for me, that's what this channel, Heather Ann Ferri, is about. It's actually about teaching you how to channel your own inner compass movie script to the highest timeline, to the light. And so I'm going to piece together stories of stranger things with what happened in my life, possibly mention a little bit of Candace Owens and how she's bringing up the Charlie Kirk from childhood. Learning all of this is interconnected. Let's not get distracted by the Epstein files. The list goes on and the left, right, black, white, wars. No, this channel is to inspire you and to share a story that is very real and very much like the movie Stranger Things. And you might think, that's not possible. Well, welcome to the Heather Ann Ferri channel. So before I actually talk about the journey of driving 5 hours to this church, I've got to take a few steps back. This is like if you watch the Candace Owens show recently and she's digging through text messages and she's now reliving things that her best friend said, Charlie Kirk, and she's now going, oh my God, he predicted that and he was having dreams of that. And she's waking up and evolving. I was programmed to this. And how does that help you in your life? Who are you? What's going on? What excites you? What are you creating to wake up and be proud of and be excited about? And you'll see on my channel, I have exciting free playlists, breath work, meditation work. I've gone through horrific years of healing ancestral generational trauma that I would not wish upon my worst enemy, to be honest with you. But unfortunately, there is a effect to karma if you want to continue to live on planet Mother Earth. And I really feel that I work for the goddess. And a lot of people say God, and I'm going to say goddess because it is a feminine planet created by a mother. So I really do feel that that's why I'm here. As I really dug through the years, crying and shaking and being abandoned and being betrayed and having people sort of study me but not really help, I've come to the conclusion that, I'm not really from this planet. We have a lot of planets in the universe. And I would say there's only a small percentage that keep reincarnating over and over again on Earth. And people think of this planet as polarity and duality. Well, I think that's programs. Actually, I think this planet was very rich and very beautiful. It was a luxury planet before what? Before what? Stranger Things? Before what? Before the programs? And so the rules are changing on Mother Earth in this time period. And those that have been seen all the time with those deals, those money deals, those sell your soul deals. We're going to now need to switch the script. We're going to need to see holy people, specifically divine feminines, women, receive abundance of money. And then you're going to see the systems change. COVID hit. I knew immediately when I turned my internet on, because I haven't owned a television set for, I don't know, 20, 30 years. Wasn't my thing. I remember seeing, we'll call him Dr. F on the screen. And the first time I saw him, I was like, this is the highest paid person in the government. And that's his auric field. And something's really off here. And my whole body knew that we were going through some sort of testing, some sort of psyop movie. And it seemed very unsettling. I felt danger, kind of like this internal instinct. I think about my ancestral roots of John Horse, systematically having to know the enemy before the enemy would know even where to come into, on what property and what land. I think about Harriet Tubman, who had to put on shows to get across the streets and act stupid, even though she was fully aware of the ignorant, entitled, arrogant slave owners. Yeah, these internal compasses that I only unraveled because I was brave enough to have swelling and headaches and cry and shake, to realize that nobody was calling on the phone to check in on me. Nobody had the internal instincts to know or face that an amount of pain without having to deal with their own consequences of choices. There were no cards the last couple years. There was no funding. There was no nothing. I lost my retirement plan and I'm okay with that because what I gained is priceless to my soul because I know that my soul lives on. I know that I came here to serve the highest ranking mother, Mother Earth, Goddess. So if you're going through hell, hell is real. I've been through it a lot. Follow my channel, read my books. Hell is what's actually demonstrated in Stranger Things, with the character 11 that I relate to a lot. She is systematically abused in a system and has to escape it. And then she finds a group of boys that believe in her and think she is the guide, and they become her family. And there's women like Joyce and Max and Nancy who become empowered and they're allowed to use their voice and their intuition. And a system to take down the monsters, which are the systems of creating traumas and attacking children. Epstein files? Charlie Kirk? Are we not understanding reality and just being programmed by movies all day long because we're too distracted by right, left, black, white, wars, instead of actually really understanding ourselves? Do we have karma to clean up? Do we even know what karma is? Are there any consequences if all the evil people get to be on the shows all the time and on the main street and they have the fancy clothes and everybody's always donating to them? Yeah. So why did the Divine Mother guide me to that church event? Well, we're getting there. We are getting there, but I have to go back even a little bit more. So COVID's happening. I know right away because I had been in the health medical system outside the box, if you follow my videos. I already knew a ton of corruption and fraud, and I knew that if we cared about health, we would be offering breath meditations like my channel for free. We would be offering education on forever chemicals in our water, and we would actually work on cleaning our water instead of keeping the alcohol businesses open. Um, we would have somebody exercising and teaching about how to release trauma, but we can't really have a whole trauma center like I had to master uh, many sciences because when you have trauma, it does, it can seep into having the Satanists, the devils attack you. It can uh, dysregulate you when there's traumas on the screen and in the world and in your environment and in your family all day long. Trauma is the name of the game for Satan. So, me actually saying to everybody, I am not going to continue to be a workaholic. I'm going to say no to these contracts because these people are evil. I am not going to ignore my pain anymore. I'm going to figure out how I can financially endure this and continue to ask the Divine Mother for guidance and assistance. And I'm going to get through this hell. That's John Horse. Oh, and that's definitely Harriet Tubman. And that's 11. She endures and sees a lot of evil. Evil is real. I've seen it, I feel it. When you're in a room with evil, it makes your hairs come up. Yeah, it's a real thing. Just like when you're in a room with a light, it can really just take away so many burdens. So, what are you used to in life? Don't judge it, but just observe it. So, for me, I was investigating. I was able to detach a lot from the fear-based commercials every 5 minutes, the radio, the family system, everybody around me. It's a very medical-based city. I already knew that. I saw a lot of red flags early on, and I also saw the programming of brainwashing. And trust me, if you're one of those people, I'm not here to judge you. We are here to reprogram. We are here to do medical meditations and shake out trauma and to get you to anti-age and realign bone structure and evolve and become telepathic. So this is just, if you're one of those people, what was it in your past life that allowed you to believe Dr. F, right? These are the things you have to discover about yourself in order to evolve. And so for me, I had done all that from in my profession. So I was more like, okay, how are we going to navigate this? Because it felt like a lot of danger. You go down all these different channels, which now a lot of those channels, which I was concerned about for the first couple of years, everybody's researching that, researching that. This one person's going to save the country of the United States. This one person's going to save. And I knew, oh, this is dangerous. This is dangerous. If these people don't learn how to become smarter, become more evolved, become more self-sufficient, work together, but they're not. They're being trained to know there's a side. They're being trained now to disconnect. They're being trained to become more traumatized. So that's why my channel, I'm not always, I've been channeling since I was born. I mean, it's actually second nature to me, and it's not something I've promoted because I work really differently and I want to empower a movement so that people can channel themselves, like their own information, and take responsibility so they can heal karmas if they choose to. Because I actually think the roles of spirituality and how we live here are actually going to be changed drastically in the next, I'd say, 5 or 10 years. So, a lot of people will say, well, that was a past life. I mean, or I'll fix it in the next life. Pretty arrogant in both ways, you know? pretty entitled that you actually think you're going to get that option here, because this earth wasn't always evil, wasn't always having children violated in the sick manners that they are. This earth used to be a luxury place, radiant, and it is going to go back to that. And not everybody is going to be able to come to Mother Earth. That's my opinion. So, as I was navigating, I remember I have to share this story before we get to the church. It's coming. Going to the church on time. I was trying to find a group. I've always been trying to find a group. I never fit in. I always, one of the things my father showed me when he passed away in 2022, among many teachings, was he pulled up a video of human design, which there's a lot of information. And I would definitely use human design within your business team. Um, when I attract in a business team, we will be going through our human design charts to know the strengths and weaknesses within our business team structure. Even if it's just me and somebody else or two people, it's just really important to understand the fundamentals of that so you can work with people's strengths and understand their weaknesses. Um, and so my dad puts this video. He's not popular. I never usually follow the mainstream stuff. And it has my numbers 5.1, but obviously that can break down into a lot of different categories. I'm a manifestor generator, so I like to work on several projects. And, once I get bored with one and that's flying, I go with another. And that's just how I work. So we generate a lot. And that's also not why I've mastered 8 to 10 sciences. I actually needed to actually heal the extensive amount of trauma in the bone auric fields database. Plus the work I did with Anastasia, which is having the actual whole soul come into the body to do her whole, because she was destroyed. And that is a whole other video, probably convention lecture on that whole situation. But anyway, so my dad really wanted some key points to start going into my psyche, because he saw the disaster that I was in, and he knew that he was responsible for that as a father, that he had taught the family system to mistreat me, to judge me, to talk about me, to not support anything about me, but at the same time to be nice to me at times. Like there was this condescending, dyslexia type of programming. And my father definitely pushed that. And so once you review the records and you see the reality, he saw the reality of torture. He saw the reality of a father that also was abused, and his abuse, because I kept like sitting like, how could you be John Horst, this fierce warrior in a past life, and then be the father that you were in this life? Well, it had to do with being sexually abused in the church as a boy. That's all you need. Split that brain, dyslexia. That's all you need. And so it took away his greatest ability, which was the protective instincts. When we take away the protective instincts of our men, which we have in the United States, we know we're in trouble, because men were created here for what? To protect the women, the divine feminine radiant women. That's why when you see the sports channels start to break down, which they will in the next year, because they are linked to channels of trafficking, then we might wake up men to actually be more engaged in society and become real men. Real men, not men that every Sunday are like, oh yeah, yeah, get that touchdown, let's go. If we could have men that passionate about children being hurt, about the pastors and the priests and this businessman and that businessman, we could have more men excited about building healthy environments, that healthy lighting, healthy water, healthy soil. The list is endless. we would have a different society. But right now, we still have a lot of systems that are going to need to break and programming. Who's funding that? I love sports. Don't get me wrong. I love watching kids play sports. I actually love high school sports the most because of the corruption in the professional leagues, unfortunately. You might say, well, how do you know that? You know what? Just watch in time and just come back to this video. The system will have to break. With that said, I'm sure there's a lot of wonderful athletes, but it's a distraction. It is actually, that distraction is just as much of a distraction as a lot of what we've been programmed online. So I found this conscious group that was meeting. They had a sort of the leader, and they had somebody sort of be the manager in each state. So the state of PA had a manager, and they were international. And I just wanted to sort of kind of connect with people who knew the medical fraud was going on, and how are you dealing with it, and the state of PA, and what could we do to come together to just help people get healthier and combat sort of what I called like an abusive programming. And every meeting, it was just like talk, 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 talk. We are going to talk about things, but we're not going to build anything. And nobody knows how to sustain money or how to build money, but we're going to talk about what's going on. And somehow one person's going to save us. And I was just like, this is wasted time. We have a lot of healers practitioners on here. They're really overweight and inflamed. And I'm not here to judge you. It's just a fact of like, I mean, I showed some of my pictures. I mean, trauma is hard, but we need to upgrade our healers. So it was frustrating because I was like, I don't fit in here. I don't fit in anywhere. Where am I going to fit in? Type of thing. There was then this sort of, I don't know what you call it, but a channel that people could leave messages and connect, and somehow, and I can hear my dad right now because I forgot about this. Somehow somebody was talking about the state of PA water, some sort of corruption or something found. And I was like, yeah, okay, here we go again. As dancers, athletes, mothers, fathers, healers, therapists, as leaders, our bodies are our instruments. And the quality of water we use every single day shapes how that instrument performs. Most people take water for granted. They think water is just water. And unfortunately, specifically in the United States, we have 80 plus contaminants plus forever chemicals in our water. And that's why I use MultiPure, and it is my sponsor for this channel. MultiPure is a USA-based company that's been trusted for over 53 years. Their filters carry some of the most respected NSF certifications in the industry, meaning they actually remove what they say they remove on their website. We always stress to customers to check certifications that are listed on a particular website with the third-party NSF website. For me personally, MultiPure is the foundation. I also utilize a PubMed electrolyzed reduced water, 7 types of waters, which you'll hear about later in this video. One of the special things about MultiPure is actually their shower filter, which is really cost effective. It's quite unique, very different from whether you go to a regular commercialized store. And a lot of the women on my team travel with it. They go to the gym with it, because why would you go to the gym or a wellness center that didn't have proper shower filter, certification or product, and you're showering with chlorine going right into your pituitary pineal and your body? That just doesn't make sense. This is a simple solution, and it's really cost effective. It's a game changer, and it's something that I share with my leaders. It's part of the wellness traveling toolkit. So you can read up about it online, but today I'm sharing a 5% off first customers gift code. So get a pen, piece of paper, write this down: 436409. So when you go onto MultiPure and you're exploring whether it's the under the kitchen filter or that shower filter or a whole home unit, you can use this gift code at checkout and receive 5% off. And you're also supporting me and this channel. Once again, that code is 436409. I want to stress this. It's really important to understand the company you're purchasing products from. If you buy a whole home unit, you're going to still need a kitchen filter. And the reason for that is whole units don't take out the small contaminants that we're now finding bacterial wise, virus wise in our drinking water. So it's important to work with somebody that has actually been studying water for over 15 years and just ask questions as you are making decisions. You can also call the company. They have incredible customer service. And obviously they work with plumbers in configuring when you're also buying the Japan technology that I'm going to speak about and how to make it your own. But I just want to really stress that because I can't tell you how many mothers have said, "Can I just buy it all in one?" And we have to break down the reasons why. And so I can go into greater detail for anybody that has a nonprofit or wants to bring me in to talk water specifically and just get into the nuts and bolts. But for today, if you're exploring and upgrading your water and you want to see those changes within you and your family and your community, that 5% discount is 436409. Many blessings. Do I comment? Do I not comment? You have to understand. It just, when you're battling stuff like this, I am convinced now that Satan follows people. And every time I'm like, getting them involved with the water, Satan comes in and it's just like, oh, by the way, just I'm going to distract you with something else instead. Why don't you sell that toxic drink with, blah, blah, blah. It's just, I mean, I know the devil, when you have broken orc fields and stuff, can Satan just come right in and that's going to come into the church event, which is going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind because it's not a movie. It really happened. But I commented saying, well, are you aware that 2.5 electrolytes reduced water can kill AIDS, SARS, E. coli, blah, blah, blah. Japanese medical devices uses that, and there's tons of clinical research. I mean, the reason why I knew COVID was like a joke was because I knew of that research in particular. And I was like, that kills stuff within 7 minutes. Like, what are we doing here? We could clean facilities. We could be, I mean, if you have strep throat, you just gargle for 5 minutes and it's dead. I mean, like it's killed. So it's just like, to me, like when you know this stuff, you're kind of like, okay, I don't know. Anyway, I got reprimanded by the big leader because you can't, I wasn't even like selling it, but you can't like outsmart somebody else up there, you know? And so I was like slapped. And I was kind of like, the way it was done felt really wrong. And then I learned later on, like all this stuff, right? Because you hear about it, just like we're hearing about. Oh, this yogi who has, 100,000 or a million following is now found trafficking children. I mean, it's just endless. Do we even know what light looks like? So I sat back with the comment. I was pretty disturbed by it. I started to detach because I was like, and then like I think like a week or two later I saw like him promoting something else about water that was very different, that wasn't accurate, and I was like, this is an ego trip now. This is an ego trip. And this is a person that has power because they have a large following globally. Why are we drawn to that? I believe because people haven't healed their trauma, because we have a failed mental health system. That's why I do have free playlists. They're foundational. They're just the basics of, there's a lot of science and a lot of things that have to take place in order for you to be empowered. You. So I didn't want to go back to the meeting, but Divine Mother, when she tells me to do something, I do it. She said, you have to go to the meeting tonight on Zoom. And I said to her, I don't want to. It's a waste of time and energy. She says, you have to go. The whole day I was like, please, I don't want to go. 5 minutes before I have to get online to go in that Zoom meeting, she's like, get on the Zoom meeting. Hello. And this is why I teach people the tools so that your life becomes this instead of always going to people to tell you something, right? We want to teach people to upgrade through skills and tools. So I go on, and within 5 minutes, they restructured the meeting that night. I was in a small group and I got a client. She was a full-time client, and that was good because I lost all my international work because nobody was flying into Pittsburgh during COVID. She was a karmic. She was a lot of work, really draining, but she was mirroring something I needed to really understand, and that was pathological lying, which happens a lot online. You can hear it in the vocal tones now. I can see it in auric fields. And my mom was a pathological liar. So it was a really important client to have. With that said, I was following this lawyer who was very passionate about protecting the children. She had traveled the world and done a lot with genocide, and she was an activist, extremely smart. She had a lot of research about mask wearing, which was shocking to me. And she was also representing the children that died from running with a mask on and not having enough oxygen, and they literally died. And we never saw that on television. And so she caught my radar, really wickedly smart. She was also talking about what they teach in marketing within universities, which I saw in the sort of mindfulness, even the consciousness movement of emotional and mental manipulation. And so, yeah, I really just really loved her. And she was going to be at this event that was 5 hours away at a church. And I'm not a long, like, I don't like to drive long distances. So I asked at the time somebody that was in my yoga meditation community who was a karmic, um, if he was interested in going because he was studying the other speakers. And he said, sure, I'll drive, no problem. So we drove up there, and I remember now looking back, like there are moments when the Divine Mother puts a protective field around me and it puts me in a trance state. So that trance state could be preparation for her doing healing work on me, or it can be preparation for protection. So I was kind of like, so you're kind of like spacey, you're just kind of like, hmm. You can't really get into the analytical mind, which is interesting because the analytical mind you can't get into when you're really going into the shaking of trauma. So anyway, there's about 500 people there, and I'm about 10 seats from the stage. They're sitting on the stage, all the speakers, and I know all of them. Like I have an idea of their intellect, where they're from, their background. I had some old yoga students there, and it was interesting because one was, somebody I kind of turned down and working with a lot of karma, masculine karma, um, just heavy energy, the type of person that's like, I'll do part of the homework, but not all of the homework type ego that I just don't have time for, you know? But it was nice to see them there. And so we're listening. I'm listening to this lawyer, this mother who is a powerhouse. I mean, she is the Harriet Tubman. She is the John Horse of protecting children and specifically girls. And you can just feel it. And I've actually never in my life felt any type of woman like that. She had a protection and a presence in her intellect, vocabulary, and energy that if I was at war, I would want her on the front line. I was like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I think I might pick her. I mean, like, and so yeah, it was captivating. I mean, it wasn't necessarily what I resonate with divine feminine and being free and funny and still having strength. Because I think we think of innocence as weak when it's really extremely strong. And but yeah, she was a powerhouse. There was another speaker I truly loved. And then there was this woman. And I'm just going to describe her from my own perception. She had the background of science and wellness and some governmental ties. As soon as she started to talk, I kind of looked at her and thought, well, she doesn't really look that healthy. And it's not a judgment, but it's an observation, you know? And it's are we able to see people for who they are? I mean, I think back of my first Dark Night of the Soul and going to the restaurant, basically not really being able to walk much and sitting with my brother and his girls. And I'm just like, I'm in so much pain. And that was for 2.5 years. You know, you kind of wonder, why didn't anybody research trauma, read books, do a GoFund for me, um, send me cards every week saying, you know, hang in there. I'm so sorry. You know, no, we're not going to look at that because we can't look at ourselves. We can't deal with the reality, disassociation. We're going to pretend that Stranger Things is just a movie. It's just a Netflix channel, right? We're just going to, that's what they've put on the screen. It doesn't really symbolize anything in reality. It's just like when I did my video with Anastasia. You know, I was expecting some soul family to come in and ask some questions. That was a 3-month healing crisis that almost took me out. You know, that's important information to understand and share and possibly assist me in my channel, in my work and getting myself back up. But that didn't happen. So if you're one of those people who've been through hell, hell is real. Um, I definitely went through a lot of it in this life. And also, have you been one of those people that feel like you've been left out on the cold in the cold? These are issues we're going to need to deal with if we're going to get to a new earth and humanity. Um, and I think what we're unraveling is the reality that evil has been owning money and systems, power, and stealing. And we need to not complain about it. We need to empower ourselves to do something about it. And little things add up and they make a difference. And so when this woman was speaking about wellness and health, first of all, her intellect wasn't very smart, which kind of shocked me because she was in a room full of smart people on the panel. So I was like, how does she fit in here on this tour? And then early on, the Divine Mother said, close your eyes, because there was this reptilian dark energy coming out all around her. And it was dark, it was heavy, and I couldn't look at her. So I closed my eyes the whole time, wondering what's going on here. And I'm listening to her because I can listen to sound frequencies and the vocal pitch and see. And I'm like, this woman doesn't really understand anything about healing. Why is she here? And I just keep my eyes closed. At one point, I open them just to panel, like look at the people behind me. Think like, are they responding to this dark energy? Is anybody? I'm like looking around the room. Is anybody aware of it? And I kept my eyes closed again. And when she was done, I looked at the speakers and their whole body language had changed. Either their leg was shaking, which is a form of we're having trauma, but we don't know we're having trauma. There's something off in the room. Their arms are crossed. I'm like, she's got a demon. There's things going on with this woman. What's going on here? She ended the presentation, the whatever event. We didn't stay for autographs or anything like that. I was really tired. We got in the car. I fell asleep, you know? We get back 2 days later, I get a phone call. Did you hear? Did you hear about so and so? My yoga students, they're in a hospital. They're on their deathbed. They're dying of COVID. They're dying of COVID. And I'm thinking, what? And then I hear from a client who knew the group that I was speaking. She says, did you hear? All the speakers on their deathbed in their hospitals, they're dying of COVID. And then I get back on that conscious community channel just to see, and most of the people there were dying sick. And there's all these conspiracy theories of, oh, they must have filtered something in the air or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what's going on here? Now, the person who drove me, nothing either, but this is the one thing I learned after many, many years, hard years. I have incredible good karma and spiritual ranking because of my choices. The driver didn't. He has a lot of negative karma for my bloodline and actually betrayed me a few more times because I didn't know all the energy. I didn't know what his whole thing was about. And so he got off of, he was protected because he was with me. So what is that teaching me at this moment in my journey? It's teaching me that I have to qualify the people that come into my energy field, personally and professionally. If they are not fully aware of my ranking spiritually, that is a problem because I've earned it. And I haven't earned it by the mainstream propaganda. I have a million likes. I've earned it because when you know, you know. It's interesting. Channeling is second nature to me. I know the downloads of those speakers' past lives. I got them during the process of learning that they were on their deathbed and how two of them are related to one of my past lives. So it's just easy for me because I'm a highly creative mystic, but I'm also a scientist. But it doesn't mean I'm going to tell you everything. I think some of the people who are the loudest online are the ones that you need to be really cautious of. I think we're finding that out, And so for me, I think about a scientist who hired me during COVID, didn't believe in anything, but believed in the PubMed research for the water, believes in the PubMed research for PTSD brain protocol, OCD brain protocol, which is pretty cool because these brain protocols are quite advanced, high intelligent advanced, not easy, some of them, but it really builds in a very different type of avatar, you know? And so we were working on the OCD, which is not easy, that brain protocol. And her OCD, so OCD is severe trauma. It can be rooted to past lives. It can be rooted to military. It can be rooted to so many different things of being rigid, of being, not feeling like you're in control of anything. She had been on high medication. She had done all kinds of different spiritual things. And she had a lot of grief over her mother passing away and that whole situation. And it was adding on to her OCD. Now I could have said, okay, let me bring in your mother and I'll channel her for you. She didn't ask me to do that because she actually didn't believe in that. But what I did do is I said, can I take this chant, which is Sanskrit, universal vows, which is a healing chant for the soul. And can you just close your eyes and breathe? And we're just going to do that for 5 minutes. And she said, that'd be nice. Okay, let's do that. And I telepathically called in her mother and said, why don't you talk to her? And I'll be the channel. So I'm chanting for about 5 minutes. And then I stop. And she opens her eyes and she starts to cry. And she said, how did you do that? And I said, what did I do? She said, I heard my mother and she shared some things that only she would know about. And I said, wow, that's beautiful. She says, you're a healer. I said, I know. I told you that in our first meeting. And she said, I didn't believe you because I don't believe in healers. And I said, that's okay. But I said, now you can be a healer because you're starting to channel. Mom. She said, thank you. You've given me a gift and an understanding of something through an experience. I actually have some of the text messages still today, printed out emails, because it was such a strong thing for a scientist to have that experience. And then she went on to continue her meditation and advancement because that's what we want. We want to be a higher conscious society with new types of businesses where we're not being poisoned all day long and our children and women are safe with a safe system, a nervous system. And men are grounded, respectful, wise. Hmm. So why was I sent to that church that day? Was it to know the past lives of two of those speakers? Maybe. Was it for me to understand that I'm capable of seeing and knowing evil? Well, I definitely know that now from a lot of experiences that you will probably hear about if you're following me. If you're coming to my workshops and events, I'll share those stories. I've got hundreds of them in real time, real lived, practical time. I don't know if I'll completely understand why so many people were dying, but what I do know is karma is real. My bloodline, the women that I've healed, and also my past lives and my soul database have endured incredibly inhumane things that would take many, 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 many lives to heal. Evil is not a normal thing on Mother Earth. It's a real thing, and we're all going to have to wake up, heal, become empowered, and say no more. I take accountability and responsibility if I do something wrong. Because the rules of Mother Earth are changing. It's going to go back. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to go back to a radiant place to live where people are going to be like, I really want to come down to Mother Earth. I really want to come down to Mother Earth. It's such a luxury place to be. They're going to be like, well, sorry. You did some wrong with some kids. We're going to have to send you to that place. That's the downloads I get. But heaven and earth are on Mother Earth, their consciousness. So unfortunately, I've experienced a lot of hell, moments of heaven, but the hell is, you can't heal these traumas without feeling the psychology of what these people are doing to you all your life. There's no positive thinking when when you're hearing the dialogue and shaking out and feeling pain that no human being should have to experience. It's like Stranger Things. I haven't watched the fifth season. I plan on it. But the fourth season's very interesting because, I mean, we start to see these patterns of the demons, specifically when they are attacking the girls, 11 and Max, how they start to go up against the wall, head tilted in a cross-like position. Interesting symbolism. Did you ever notice that? Yeah. So this is how we discover more of the realm that we are spiritual beings in a human body, and that what you're watching in the movie screen is happening in real time. You just may not be woken up enough or aware of it yet, but the more you meditate, do breath work, shake out somatic, there's a lot more I just don't mention in a line, and drink a much better version of water and stay away from the parasites and the glyphosate and the processed foods and the cane sugar, you're going to start to have experiences. And it might scare you at first, but it's also going to let you know that there's more to you than meets the eye. There is more to you than meets the eye. And so thank you for joining the Heather and Ferri channel today. And there'll be more videos to come. I don't post every day. I don't have a team. But also I don't want to have an audience that's addicted to me or codependent on my channel. I want to attract in higher intelligence beings who will start to get the download that she just posted a video. I want to attract in people that do the playlists and share them to begin that foundation of teaching and observation and understanding of breath, so that if you know somebody with PTSD, which there's a lot of people, then they can really prosper with that brain work after those foundational, videos. If you know somebody, all the brain protocols, ADHD, childhood trauma. Okay, so that's my story of why I did not die, thank God. Goddess at the church event. What do you think about that? Have you ever had an experience like that? When you listen to this video, have you had any huh, moments of questions or downloads? Share them in the comments below. Would love to hear from you. And until the next video, I send you many blessings.